Behind the Standard, I'm Brenner.
I'm Cortlynn.
And with us this week, we have our special guest and senior reporter, Chloe Skaar.
Did you go fishing this week? You shouldn't have.
We're talking fishing with a PH, not an F. Earlier last week, over 4,000 individuals in the Missouri State community were targeted with a phishing scam in their emails.
Right, and so this scam tried to access your My Missouri State account to get a hold of all sorts of personal information like your credit card information, your birthday, things like that. So we actually got 3 tips that you should look out for when something like this comes up. You should look for the sender's email address, you should look at the URL that the email is linked to, and you should look and see how the URL is different. Like in this case, it was actually impersonating the actual My Missouri State URL.
So be careful out there, folks. You're not even saving your emails anymore, it turns out. Moving on to our next story. Earlier Monday, President Smart gave his state address.
Right, so this was a State of the University address, and he outlined 4 principles of our funding model, which they're going to be implementing. First is affordability, then efficiency, growth, and tuition. He also said that incoming students will have to get an ACT score of 18 instead of 17, so we're kind of raising the bar a little bit. And Cliff Smart also said that he's not going anywhere. Missouri State is his last job.
Viva la little Presidente, Cliff Smart. Our final story, we had an MSU student actually down in Mexico when the Mexican earthquakes hit in the past couple days. And Chloe actually wrote the story over that. So Chloe, just give us your impressions on the story.
Well, at first I reached out to the director of the Study Away program, and she let us know that there were actually 2 students studying abroad when it was going on. There were 2 pretty big earthquakes, and one of our students, Desmond Warren, a senior, is doing a lot of volunteer work in his area. Him and his friends that he's studying with have been collecting donations and doing drop-off points. They've been helping out through their church and things like that. And then we've got Carolyn Streamson, and she is in Oaxaca, Mexico, which was a little bit closer to the bigger earthquake. And one of the things that she told me that I thought was interesting was seeing the community rally that she's with. And she said that it was actually pretty inspirational to see the community become, so close. And I think one of the things she said was the Mexican Independence Day was not very long after the earthquakes, and they didn't even have any celebrations because what she told me, they didn't want to be celebrating when all these people around them were hurting, and I think that was really neat. Yeah.
So what stood out to you most about this story?
One thing that kind of spiked my interest and my curiosity to look into if we had any students there was one thing that Elizabeth Strong, the director of Study Away, told me was that this isn't the first time that Missouri State students have been caught in natural disaster. There's been about 3 before, and so it was interesting to hear that they do have a protocol, and Missouri State actually has insurance for things like flights and evacuations and medical care that students may need. So it was interesting to see that even though it is a crisis situation, they're actually pretty well prepared.
Tell us a little bit more about those students that have been there in the past during crisis situations.
Well, they had one student was there during a tsunami in Japan, and then a student, I believe it was 2015, was studying in Ireland, and she went to Paris for a weekend to go to a concert, and there was a terrorist attack, and bombs went off nearby, and thankfully she wasn't at the concert at the time. She was at a pub nearby, but they had to go on lockdown too. So.
All right, awesome. Thank you for joining us this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's everything we've had. I'm Brenner.
I'm Cortlynn.
And I'm Chloe Skaar.
Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.